Have you ever noticed how some corporate buildings feel alive with energy, while others feel completely stagnant? Behind the walls, the HVAC systems, and the lighting is a hidden layer of strategy that dictates exactly how a company operates, shifting our focus from the boiler room straight to the boardroom. Mastering this invisible architecture requires a deep understanding of leadership, strategy, and business management, which is exactly why aligning the physical workspace with a company's overarching mission is so critical. Technical knowledge of building systems isn't enough anymore. The real secret lies in becoming a strategic leader who drives tangible business value. Today, we are going to explore the psychology and strategy behind the scenes, elevating your management skills and showing you exactly how top-tier professionals communicate with executive leadership to shape the future of a business. The ultimate secret to this hidden corporate world is a concept known as strategic alignment. Strategic alignment dictates that every single choice made regarding a physical building must directly mirror the deepest goals of the company itself. For example, if a tech startup wants to attract the most brilliant minds in the industry, the building strategy is entirely engineered around creating modern, comfortable, and highly appealing workspaces. Conversely, if a corporation is slashing costs just to survive a brutal economic downturn, the entire physical environment must instantly pivot toward aggressive efficiency and savings. Understanding how to flawlessly connect the physical actions of a building to these high-level corporate objectives is the true hallmark of a master in this field. To truly master this space, professionals have to grasp the critical psychological difference between leadership and management. Management is strictly about the mechanics of the job, controlling daily processes, scheduling routine maintenance, and making sure the physical cogs of the building turn on time. Leadership, however, is a completely different beast. It is about inspiring a team, casting a long-term vision, and guiding people through highly stressful, difficult changes. The most successful professionals behind our corporate environments possess both of these distinct skill sets. Real-world scenarios rarely require just a technical fix. They almost always demand a nuanced leadership approach to untangle complex human and personnel problems. But how does a company actually know if their physical environment is helping or hurting them? They rely on a fascinating strategic management framework called the Balanced Scorecard, which evaluates success through four completely different lenses: financial health, customer satisfaction, internal processes, and learning and growth. Instead of just obsessing over a spreadsheet of budget numbers, this framework forces leaders to measure how happy the people in the building are and how well the staff is being trained. By utilizing a balanced scorecard, the people running the building can definitively prove the massive, unseen value of their department to the chief executive officer. It is a powerful conceptual tool that forms the backbone of advanced professional frameworks in this industry. Because corporate environments are essentially living organisms that are constantly shifting, mastering the psychology of change management becomes absolutely essential. Change management is the highly structured approach used to guide human beings through incredibly stressful transitions, like relocating an entire corporate headquarters or suddenly forcing employees to share desks. Human nature instinctively fights against change because it shatters daily routines and spikes anxiety levels across the board. The goal here is to communicate with radical clarity, genuinely listen to employee fears, and expertly guide them into adapting to their new surroundings without chaos. Mitigating that natural human resistance during major environmental transformations is what separates an average operator from an elite strategic leader. Inside any corporate ecosystem, there is a complex web of stakeholders, which includes absolutely anyone affected by how a building operates, from the everyday employees and visiting clients to top executives and even the surrounding city neighborhood. Managing this web effectively means identifying every single player and mapping out their deeply unique, often conflicting needs. The finance department might be screaming for lower utility costs, while the sales directors are demanding an incredibly expensive, flashy lobby to awe their visiting clients. Navigating these totally opposing desires requires master-level negotiation and communication skills. Resolving these inevitable disputes between rival groups is a daily reality for the hidden leaders of the corporate world. Because you are dealing with such wildly different groups of people, your communication style has to instantly adapt the moment you walk into a new room. If you are standing in a mechanical room talking to technicians, you need to use precise, highly technical language that prioritizes physical safety and operational procedures. But the second you step into the boardroom to present to the directors, you have to completely translate those exact same technical details into the language of financial impacts and corporate risk. Those executives do not care about the thermodynamic mechanics of a broken air conditioning chiller. They only care about how much the repair will cost and how the heat will destroy employee productivity. Mastering this ability to translate technical disasters into business language is the ultimate key to career survival and growth. Of course, true leadership isn't just about managing the good days. It is about architecting survival strategies for the worst case scenarios through business continuity planning. A business continuity plan is the ultimate doomsday playbook, outlining exactly how a massive organization will stay alive during a catastrophic flood, a raging fire, or a citywide power grid failure. While emergency responders are focused purely on getting people out alive, business continuity is entirely obsessed with keeping the company financially operational and stopping the bleeding of millions of dollars. The people running the facilities are the unsung heroes of these disasters, ensuring that invisible backup systems fire up instantly and secret alternative workspaces are ready for use. Building an unbreakable continuity plan is a non-negotiable skill for anyone leading at a high level. Behind closed doors, one of the most stressful strategic decisions these leaders face is determining their outsourcing strategy. Outsourcing is the high-stakes gamble of hiring external, third-party companies to run critical building operations instead of relying on the company's own internal employees. Leaders have to meticulously analyze whether it is safer to keep operations entirely in-house to maintain absolute control, or to hand the keys over to specialized outside vendors to aggressively cut costs and shift legal liability. Making the right call requires a profound understanding of the company's core identity and the realities of the local economic market. Understanding the dangerous pros and cons of outsourcing these massive operational functions is a critical test of business acumen. When a corporation does decide to outsource, their ultimate weapon for survival is a dense, powerful document called the Master Service Agreement. This is the overarching, high-level legal contract that permanently locks in the relationship, boundaries, and financial terms between the corporation and the outside vendor. Nested beneath this massive legal umbrella are highly specific service-level agreements, which ruthlessly define the exact, minute-by-minute performance metrics the vendor must hit every single day. Structuring these legal traps properly is the only thing standing between a company and catastrophic financial risk, ensuring they extract every ounce of value they paid for. Expert knowledge of these intricate contract structures and cutthroat vendor negotiation tactics is absolutely mandatory. To actually execute any of these massive plans, you have to decode the secret organizational structure of the company you are working inside. Every single corporation operates on a completely unique hierarchy and invisible culture, spanning from rigid, military-style corporate ladders to chaotic, flat-structure environments where everyone claims to be an equal. To survive, you have to discover how decisions are truly made behind the scenes and identify exactly which individuals hold the real, unwritten power within the building. Navigating this treacherous landscape of office politics with professional grace is the only way to actually unlock funding for massive projects and get executive backing for radical new ideas. Having acute political awareness is just as important as knowing how the physical building functions. Yet, all of this strategic maneuvering will collapse instantly if it is not built upon a rock-solid foundation of professional ethics. The leaders managing these environments have total control over multi-million-dollar budgets, the power to award incredibly lucrative vendor contracts, and unhindered access to the company's most sensitive, confidential information. They have to constantly navigate a minefield of potential conflicts of interest, like turning down a shockingly expensive gift from a contractor desperately trying to buy their influence. Maintaining unshakable integrity in these moments guarantees fair market competition and shields the corporation from devastating legal and public relations scandals. Transparency and ethical decision-making are quite literally the gravity that holds the entire profession together. In the modern corporate era, relying on gut feelings and simple guesswork has been entirely replaced by aggressive, data-driven decision-making. Today's leaders must act like data scientists, harvesting and analyzing thousands of data points from maintenance software, digital energy meters, and anonymous psychological surveys from the employees. If you walk into a boardroom to demand $1 million for a new roof, you cannot just say it looks old. You need weaponized data to prove exactly why the corporation will bleed money if they do not invest right that second. Projecting a striking visual chart that tracks the exponential rise in temporary repair costs over time transforms a weak request into an undeniable financial mandate. Justifying business strategies with cold, hard metrics is how the real game is played. To truly speak the language of the executives hoarding the money, you have to deeply internalize the concept of return on investment, universally known as ROI. Return on investment is the brutal mathematical truth of how much financial gain or loss a project creates, compared to the massive pile of cash it took to start it. For instance, if you convince the board to spend $50,000 upgrading to smart LED lighting, and that upgrade slashes the annual electricity bill by $20,000, that project boasts an incredibly lucrative ROI. Using these exact calculations allows professionals to prove that their seemingly boring building projects are actually massive money-making engines for the corporation. Explaining ROI is a fundamental survival skill for anyone operating at the highest levels of corporate strategy. Strangely, despite all this massive responsibility, many professionals completely forget the psychological importance of internally marketing their own department. They might pull off miracles every single night to keep the building alive, but if the rest of the company is entirely blind to it, the department will just be viewed as a massive, annoying financial drain. Elite leaders know they must constantly broadcast their victories, sharing dramatic energy-saving reports and glowing employee satisfaction surveys with the entire corporate ecosystem. This internal marketing engine generates deep appreciation, radically boosts team morale, and makes it infinitely easier to get the executives to approve the next massive budget request. Self-promotion is not arrogance here. It is a highly calculated and incredibly valid leadership strategy. A truly successful leader is also relentlessly obsessed with finding ways to do things just a fraction better every single day, a philosophy deeply rooted in the concept of continuous improvement. Continuous improvement means tearing apart your own daily processes, looking for the tiniest, incremental ways to squeeze out more efficiency and ruthlessly eliminate corporate waste. It could be as subtle as shifting a night cleaning schedule by an hour, redesigning the layout of a hidden tool room, or rewriting safety checklists to save 5 minutes a day. Over the span of a year, those invisible, tiny tweaks compound into millions of dollars in operational savings and create a flawlessly functioning environment. Settling for the status quo is the fastest way to become obsolete in this fast-paced industry. Beyond the physical building, true leadership demands a heavy investment in human psychology and building an unbreakable operational team. The technicians and coordinators working behind the scenes require relentless, ongoing training to master terrifying new equipment, navigate shifting legal safety codes, and develop the emotional intelligence needed for customer service. By aggressively cross-training the entire staff, a leader guarantees that if a vital team member suddenly quits, the entire corporate machine does not violently crash to a halt. Mentoring the younger generation of professionals builds an invisible succession plan, guaranteeing the ecosystem thrives long after the current leader moves on to a bigger role. Fostering human talent and career development is arguably the most important legacy a leader leaves behind. In today's hyper-connected world, all of this strategy is now deeply entangled with a massive movement known as corporate social responsibility, or CSR. CSR is the ethical framework that forces a corporation to be socially and morally accountable to its own people, its financial stakeholders, and the global public. The people running the corporate buildings are on the front lines of this movement, fighting to shrink the massive carbon footprints of skyscrapers, forcing vendors to supply ethically sourced materials, and physically designing spaces that guarantee a diverse, inclusive environment for everyone. Corporations that dominate the CSR game attract the most brilliant talent on Earth and enjoy an impenetrable public reputation. Aligning the physical reality of a building with these massive global social goals is the new frontier of corporate strategy. Finally, because the global economy moves at blinding speeds, surviving this landscape requires incredibly agile management. Agility is the rare superpower of being able to violently and instantly adapt millions of square feet of physical space to survive sudden, terrifying shifts in the global market. When a worldwide event suddenly forces half of a corporation's workforce to abandon the city and work from their living rooms, an agile leader instantly slashes the cooling systems and totally reconfigures the empty space to stop financial bleeding. Being hyper-flexible and aggressively proactive, instead of waiting for disaster to strike, is the ultimate hallmark of a top-tier corporate leader. The true test of greatness is how fast you can pivot when the entire business world flips upside down. Understanding how these invisible systems and leadership strategies work is only the beginning of mastering the corporate landscape. If you want to take your knowledge further and prepare professionally to lead these massive operations yourself, utilizing official frameworks like the IFMA Certified Facility Manager path is the perfect next step. Working through these concepts formally improves your mental retention and ensures you are fully equipped to tackle real-world boardroom challenges and industry exams. Don't forget to check the description to get your free study guide and additional resources to help you prepare. You are doing fantastic work exploring this hidden corporate world, and we will naturally transition to see you in the next video, where we will tackle the high-stakes world of corporate finance and commercial real estate.